going to start the first botany class today, right? So I think yesterday you all have the zoology class. Let me introduce myself. I am Parinita Sharma and I would be your botany teacher for this year, right? So zoology class already korila. Botany aji ami ki korim? The first chapter to aji ami arambho korim. Our first chapter to ki ase NCERT living world, right? So we'll be starting from like that. Jeneke syllabus to ase NCERT bookot thik tenege ami ki korim bostu to start korim. Thik ase? So ami he sequence to follow korim. Before starting, if suppose majot jodi tumalkor kiba doubts thake, tumalke please question hudiba. Thik ase? Jehetu question to hudiboi laibo, doubt bla clear koriboi laibo, right? Are already notes pai goisa sake? Paisa ne? Right? Paisa no? Notes aji forward korise. Did you go through? No response. Did you go through? Ne ei matro forward korise karone pua nai. Okay, anyway, whatever. Jehetu paisa, you'll have enough time to go through, right? So first, welcome and let's start a very good session. Botany, interesting, ne boring? No answer, right? Okay, let's not ask. Porhar pisar enukwa laibo je botany is very easy, right? We'll make it very easy. So don't worry. Khali sincerely porhima. Any doubts that you have, please be free to ask, right? Any word you did not understand, any question you did not understand, huri loba. Thik ase? Aru ami ki korim? As I said, we will start the lesson now. So, swa. NCERT class 11 or first unit to ki ase? Unit 1 or ki ase? Okay, is there anyone who does not understand Assamese? Any problem with the language? Assamese, English both, because the lecture would be in both the language. Okhomia nubucha kunuba thakile, please ask. Okay. Unit 1 or ki ase? Diversity of the living world, right? Diversity of the living world. So within this unit 1, chapters keta ase? 4 chapters are included. And what are the 4 chapters? The living world. The second chapter is biological classification. Third chapter, plant kingdom. And the fourth chapter is animal kingdom. So these are the 4 chapters that are included in this unit 1, right? And out of these 4 chapters, these 3 chapters is obviously under ki botany, no? Our zoology ma'am already animal kingdom start korise, right? So we would be starting with the first one, that is the living world. A unit 2 pora, there are many questions that are asked both from the board point of view and obviously from the entrance point of view also. As you read or as you go on reading this chapter, aji first korisu, so please try to pay attention. But as you read, by complete hoar pisot, just a word to say, the complete hoar pisot, gute syllabus to complete hoar pisot, tumalkor enekwa lagibo that the living world is the most easiest of all the chapters that you are going to read. Right? So you'll have that feeling. Because living world ase ki, it is a lesson which has all the contents of your entire syllabus in a very lump sum manner, right? Jiman khini ami details out porhim, gute khini bostue okoman mention a chapter to ase. A chapter to bahut easy zen lage. Obviously it's easy only, kintu easy does not mean we will not study. So it is easy. Tarpora kintu from entrance point of view, bahut khini questions ahe. Actually, ekhini part of prai around ketiaba to 17 questions manu ahar record ase. So no chapter is less important. So living world is also important, but it's supposed to be easy. Let's understand. We'll come to the first chapter, that is the living world. Living world tot ami pohim ki lesson to contents ki ase, right? Gute lesson tot is the voice clear? Huna paisa tumalke? Okay. So we'll just see the A chapter to ki ase. What are the things that you have to go study? First is you have to talk about what is living. So we'll be discussing about what is living. Second point, we will be talking about a word called as nomenclature. Third, we'll be talking about taxonomic, no, okay, yes, you're quite close to that, taxonomic, one second, hierarchy, and last, taxonomical aids. So the entire chapter has been divided into these 3 points. A gute gita point korile will be completing the chapter. As far as this is concerned, what is living, within this point ki poribo lagibo? Characteristics of living, characteristics of living. Next, a term called as biodiversity. Biodiversity আৰু তাৰ পিছত need to classification, আৰু দুটা term taxonomy and systematics. So living world চাৰিটা পাৰ্টত ভাগ কৰা হৈছে. First is what is living or under these are the things that we have to study. Characteristics of living, biodiversity, need to classification, আমি classify কিয় কৰিব লাগে, and similarly 2 terms associated with that is taxonomy and systematics. What is taxonomy, what is systematics, দুইটাৰ মাজত difference কি, these are the points that we are going to study. Coming to this one, nomenclature মানে কি, it is the naming of an organism, that is what is called as nomenclature, right? So yate ami ki porhim, what are the rules of nomenclature? Scientific name eta dibole gole we have to follow certain types of rules. Jeneke mon jai teneke to obviously ami eta naam dibo nwarim, no? I think you all have heard something called as binomial nomenclature. Kunisane? Okay, so binomial nomenclature is something that has been accepted or that is still being accepted, right? Kintu that does not mean that nomenclature tokol binomial nomenclature ase. Trinomial nomenclature, polynomial nomenclature, hebilak bostu asile, kintu hebilak ajikali consider kora nohoy. So yar bitor ami ki porhim, ami basically porhim tar first important ki hobo, rules of nomenclature, ar tar pisot ami ki porhim, binomial nomenclature, right? Aru accordingly we'll be going. Taxonomic hierarchy. What is hierarchy? Taxonomy word to itia bad dia because we did not explain, so let's not think about this word. Hierarchy mane ki, arranging in a proper order, no, increasing level, right? That is what is called as hierarchy. Aru yate taxonomic hierarchy boli kwa loge lage we are talking about terms like tumalke khunisa no, species, genus, family, right? You have to properly arrange all the organism. Eta organism jodi identify korila tete hale tumaluke hey organism to it belongs to which phylum or kingdom, which division, which class, which order, which family, right? Arranging it in a proper sequence, that is what is called as hierarchy. Our hierarchy details ought to obviously korim. As of now, hierarchy boli kwa loge lage lower most level ot ki thakibo species aru topmost level ot ki thakibo phylum thakibo, right? Phylum, or in case of animals ki thakibo division thakibo, right? Okay, next is taxonomical aids. What we understand by the word aid? Aid mane ki? Aid mane ki? Kibahor help, obviously. Je ami jikono eta organism jodi bhalke porhibo lage, discover korisa, and you have to know and you want to know the informations about that particular organism. Tar karone ki hoy je ami kisuman bostur help lobo paru. E help to ke ami ki boli koi? So aids. Aids ot ami ki porhibo laibo? We have to talk about botanical gardens, right? You have to talk about herbaria, zoological parks, fourth is something called as keys. Yeah, doesn't matter. Exactly. I'm facing the same problem. Yeah, please, okaman careful mic to low pelai. Right? So I don't know who is doing, but please be careful, right? Nohole ki hoy kotha bilak clear nohoy no? And even I get disturbed. Anyway, you all are handling this, or maybe you are having this type of a class for the first time in your life, so maybe you will have some problems. Gradually, so bhalo hoy jabo. Okay, we'll be coming back to this. Can you hear me now? Okay. Okay. Oh, welcome. Taxonomical aids. So we are talking about the help of certain things. Are a help khini ami kihor karone long jate neki ami he organism to be we have a clear idea and view. So botanical gardens, herbarium, zoological parks, keys, etc. and certain books. Okay, we have museums also. Then certain books like flora, manual, catalog, monograph, etc. Right? So, what we have understood is, we have just talked about what is the content of this lesson. We have not even started. Khali contents ki ni bujaisu. So, these are the things that you have to study. Protektu bosture ami details poribo lagibo. Even the aids, botanical gardens boli kole, not much kintu what we understand that ki hoy species bilak kobar pra belek ke ani pelai tat hoy ne tate originate kore, jute ki hoy. So, these are the things that we are going to study. So, we'll be coming to the first one, what is living. Just a moment, let me rub it first. Ekeloge kiba problem paisa niki? Okay. So we come to the word what is living, and whenever we are talking of living, we come across a word called as life. So what is life? Life ki hoy? What is life? It is nothing but a unique reaction, right? Unique, complex reaction. As far as the proper definition is concerned, notes or diya ase, so we are not going to write the definition and waste time. Jedi buji nupwa, please ask your doubts later. So life is nothing but a reaction. Anything that has life is called as ki living. Hoy, life thakile amak ki boli koy living. Aru study of living ki boli koy biology, right? So life, unique reaction. Anything that has life is supposed to be living. Study of living is called as biology. Biology ki monot rakhibo laibo that the two words bios aru logos, right? Bios mane ki hol living, and logos is nothing but the study, right? Some extra points that you have to remember when you talk about biology. There are certain points that you need to remember. First is, who has given the term? The term biology was given by a scientist called as Jean-Baptiste Lamarck. Have you heard about him? Lamarckism hunisa, class 10 or obviously you have read, right? Yeah. So Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, or in short you can just remember Lamarck also. What did Lamarck propose? He proposed the theories of evolution. Right? Theories of evolution. Now evolution will be a total new, it will be a total chapter. Afterwards you will read in details. As of now, basic details or na jao. The contents that are confined to this lesson only, we are going to stick to that point. So Lamarck ki course theories of evolution and theories of evolution, if you remember that particular example, kihor upor study korisile? Giraffe. Do you remember that neck of the giraffe? Right? Okay, so what did Lamarck say? So Lamarck ki koisile je jikunu eta organism or so nijor lifetime or jikunu jedi physical change hoy, hey physical change bilak one generation after generation it gets carried. The term that we are using is carrying over of acquired characters or acquired inheritance. Are you understanding the point? Acquired inheritance. Acquired mane ki? যে যিকোনো বস্তু এটা তুমি যোনটো একসেপ্ট বা যোনটো বস্তু লবা তাক আমি কি বুলি কম acquired বুলি কম right so এতিয়া আমি জানো যিকোনো বস্তু বা if any character has to pass from one generation to the other we know who is the main factor behind it's obviously the genes the chromosomes will be talking about all those কিন্তু লেমাৰ্কে কি কৈছিলে যে acquired characters বিলাকো এটা জেনাৰেশনৰ পৰা আনটো জেনাৰেশনলৈ যায় he has given the example he has given the study about the giraffe what he said the giraffe originally was a deer like animal right so tar giraffe ki asile je tar height to iman besi nasile deer or nisna asile so he used to have the grasses and those type of herbs that were present at that time gradually ki hol he gha ba he teniko herbs bilak naikia hoy gol so he has to go for the lowermost branches of the trees to eat so he tar leaves khabole jaunte he had to stretch his neck and as a result that was the reason for elongation of the neck of the giraffe according to Lamarck right aru ei je elongate hoy gol giraffe or neck to that is a character that has been transferred or carried over from generations over generations and as a result giraffe bor ukho hoy gol I think you'll remember this is what you have studied under the heading called as Lamarckism okoman monot porise ne right so but we know this is not correct right aru so Lamarck ki hoisile je when you are talking about this theory is not accepted eta theory accept koribo ba nokore ketia koribo ketia nokore jetia kono criticism na thake right jetia kono limitations na thake tetia hole ki hoy theory eta fully accept kore kintu Lamarck or ei theory to accept kora hua nasile ki hokarne nasile because it had some drawbacks right and who was the scientist behind he was August Weismann right so he was the scientist who proved Lamarck wrong aru etia koirile to no hobo that you are wrong you have to prove it also or he has to do some type of studies also what you need to remember is Weismann e kihor upor study korisile can anyone tell me yeah exactly rats ba mice is a word that we use ki korisile mice bilak loisile ba duta mice loisile tahator tail dal kati disile and they were asked to reproduce and the offspring that they produced obviously they were not tailless no kiman generations holoke korisile around 22 generations holoke prottek bare ki korisile nest dal kati disile but in spite of that the offsprings were born all with tails right so he proved that these type of physical changes or acquired characters are not transferred from generation to generation I think this is clear right ekhine jiman kolu this is some extra points from entrance point of view that you have to remember coming back to the topic again we were talking about the term biology kune disile the scientist you have to remember next we come to a word called as father of biology of biology any idea exactly of second you are correct Aristotle right Aristotle is considered to be the father of biology Aristotle kun asile Greek naturalist so when I am talking about Aristotle ei gute point khinir bhitorot kuntu point important jen lagise from examination point of view we have a idea the father of biology কোন হয় that is the most important question from this part right আমি কি পঢ়িম father of biology কোন বা Aristotle কোন that is something that we study কিন্তু from entrance point of view question কি আহিছে জানা এই Greek word to উপৰ to আহিছে যে Aristotle friends asile Greek asile Indian obviously Indian to nasile right so eku word miss nokoriba is it clear right so father of biology is Aristotle was also considered as father of zoology talking about these various scientists no bahut bilak scientists or kotha or some informations their contributions you have to study and these informations are there in your second chapter that is biological classification so at that time details about Aristotle details about some other scientists we'll be talking about at that time etia khali father of biology kun hoy Aristotle he is also called as father of zoology Aristotle or ejon particular student you need to remember have you heard about Theophrastus Theophrastus or naam konisa niki okay so biology boli kole yeah Yeah, obviously. So science or to anything like you have limitations, you have certain things that are proved wrong, right? But the good thing is at least you have heard about him. Okay, so when we talk about biology, biology not only consists of the animal part, we always have the plant part also. So if one has to be a father of zoology, then someone has to be a father of botany also, right? So Aristotle or student Theophrastus, and he was considered to be the father of botany, right? Second information about him, he has written a book. Name of the book, Historia Plantarum. What does the book consist? Bahut bilak books poriba, bahut bor scientist or naam poriba, but what is there inside the book? All these informations would be in your second lesson, not now. As of now, father of botany Theophrastus, he has written a book called as Historia Plantarum. As the name suggests, it is something about plants. So this book had all the names of all the plants that were present at that time, right? So ekhini loke we have talked about this. Next, father word to jeti ami use koru, maybe you all have noticed je eta word dekhisane Indian father buli. কেতিয়াবা কিবা পঢ়ুতে ইন্ডিয়ান ফাদার পাইছিলা নেকি জেনেকে ওকে what you will see is ইয়াতে ইন্ডিয়ান ফাদার of botany, right? সবৰে ইন্ডিয়ান ফাদার না থাকে কিন্তু ইয়াতে যেহেতু we are talking about botany, so we'll be precise about this. Theophrastus is called as the father of botany, but Indian father of botany কোন হয় William Roxburgh. Right? So what is the difference between father of botany and Indian father of botany? Indian father boli kete kom? Exactly. Any person who starts to work in India, teok ami ki boli kom Indian father. Our first june start korisel teok ami ki kom father of botany. So these were some points about the scientists and their contributions that you have to study. Next, now we come to the word called as living. Whenever we talk about living or logot, non-living is also a word that comes together, right? So living organisms ase, non-living objects ase. What we know, living or non-living or majot ki thake many dissimilarities thake. There are so many points on which both of them vary. So dissimilarities besi ase ki that does not mean that similarity is nai. So what we need to know is first what are the similarities? এনেটো আমি কি জানো যে বেছিভাগ dissimilarities হয় নহয় living or non-living or similarities not very important point but even then এবাৰ পঢ়ি থোৱাটো ভাল. So similarities of ভিতৰত কি আছে যে both living and non-living are made up of the basic elements like CHON. So living substance, living organisms বা non-living organism যিয়ে নুসুৱাকে তাহাঁতৰ ভিতৰত বা they are made up of কি some basic elements. And what are the basic elements we are talking about? Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen. So that is the first similarity. The second similarity is both living and non-living are subjected to the same physical laws or rules of nature. তামানে আমি কি বুজিছো like gravity, magnetism, radiation, etc. etc. So living non-living or bahut dissimilarities hai kintu similarity just we need to know two of them. First is they are made up of the same elements, that is CHON, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and plus both of them are subjected to the same physical law. Gravity, if you are talking about the effect of gravity on a living organism and the effect of gravity on a non-living substance, both of them will show their own effects, right? Similarly magnetism, similarly radiations. So ebilak whole physical laws juntu niki duita khetrote we can see. Next, we come to the dissimilarities. Each and every living organism, they will have certain unique characteristics which differentiates them from the non-living, right? So, kenukwa dhoroner characteristics? So, dissimilarities ki? Eta dissimilarities boli kole there are so many. First, maybe we are talking about presence of, okay, before writing, let me ask a question. What is the living content of a cell called as? No, it is protoplasm. Yeah, presence of protoplasm. So, living what we understand about a cell, right? Living cell is the basic unit. So, cell etar living content ki hoy? Protoplasm. So, this non-living or ki na thake, protoplasm na thake, or living or protoplasm thakibo. Duta cells edi thake. So, living or non-living to ami dekhile gom pao, but there are so many characters that it differentiates. But if I give you two cells, right? In one cell, you have that liquid component called protoplasm, and in the other cell, you don't have that liquid component. So, with that respect, what we can identify, which cell is living and which cell is dead. So, what I want to say is, jedi eta cell living hobo lage, tetihale tat protoplasm thakiboi lagibo. Ar jedi protoplasm na thake, tetihale tak ami ki boli kom, that would be considered as an example of a dead cell. Dead cell thake na thake? Dead cell or example kwa? Yeah, in case of plants, in case of animals, we have certain cells that are considered to be dead, right? So, in case of animals, or maybe, yeah, in case of human beings, we have hair, we have, yeah? Yeah, nails, yeah, exactly. Yeah, in case of plants, that is the word I was waiting for. In case of plants, we have a word called as cork, no? Aru kesuman waste materials jedi eta cell deposit hoi jay, jeneke resins ase, tannins ase, gums ase, ebilak jedi besi deposit hoi jay, tetihale protoplasm to content naikia hoi jay, and at that time that cell would be considered to be dead, right? So, presence of protoplasm is the first point on the basis of which living and non-living has been differentiated. Second is, we have certain points. Second, there are so many points like growth, car growth hoy, no hoy. Then we have reproduction. Then we have metabolism, right? Then we might have certain things called as adaptation, homeostasis, evolution, etc. So, differentiate jetya koru, there are so many points on the basis of which you can differentiate a living and non-living. Eta point I mean details of exam. First, let us come to a word called as protoplasm, right? So, eta jedi cell. So, we are talking about this cell and we are talking about a cell like this, right? So, what is the cell we are drawing? Ekdam rough diagram eta akisu. One is a plant cell and the other is a animal cell, right? Our plant cell kuntu, animal cell kuntu, ami keneke differentiate korim? Or what is the basic difference? Exactly, cell walls jedi thake. Exactly, kiman point of difference ase no, large vacuole, small vacuole, nucleus to center thakibo ne periphery thakibo, etc. etc. right? Eta ami cellot hebilak details korim. As of now, etu ami ki boli koiso? Plant cell aru etu ki hoy? Animal cell, right? Ekhon cell wall, right? In case of a plant cell, ami jano boundary is formed by the cell wall. Next to cell wall, ei wall khonok ki boli koi? If this is the cell wall, exactly, it is called as the cell membrane, or it is also called as plasma membrane, right? In case of an animal cell, cell wall na thake, so directly ki thakibo? Plasma membrane or cell membrane. No, baki to bhitor khini obviously thakibo, right? So, etia ami protoplasm ki hoy ami bujim. Protoplasm is the colorless material that consists of all the living content of the cell. So, what is protoplasm? It is a colorless material that consists of all the living content of the cell, including cell membrane, nucleus, cytoplasm and cell organelles. So protoplasm at a definition will not just a type of explanation. So what is protoplasm? It is a colorless material. It is fluidic in nature, liquid type material but gel type material that consists of the living content of the cell, including cell membrane, nucleus, cytoplasm, cell organelles. So cell membrane ki hoy we have drawn, right? Ekonok ami ki boli kom, cell membrane boli kom. Nucleus we know na genetic material jot thake tak ami ki boli kom, nucleus. Right? In case of animal cell, the position of the nucleus is central. In case of plant cell, it is peripheral, but sidole. Why is it peripheral? Because the centermost position is occupied by vacuole, no? Plant cell or ki thake dangor vacuole thake. Ekarne majot jodi vacuole thake, nucleus to ki hoy sidole push kora jay, and that is what is called as peripheral nucleus. Okay. Next is we have a word called as cytoplasm and cell organelles. Cell organelles mane ki eta cellor bhitor ei jikin liquid content thakibo in case of both the cells tak ami ki boli koisu protoplasm boli koisu, right? So protoplasm thakibo, nucleus thakibo ar tar bhitor aru cell organelles bilaku thakibo. Properly moi dekhai dio. Suppose we are talking about a cell like this. Etu kami ki koisu nucleus, right? Etu whole cell membrane, right? This liquid, we have used the word protoplasm, right? Next is yate ki thakibo kisman organelles thakibo. For example, mitochondria, I think you all have heard, right? Golgi bodies, mitochondria, by lysosomes. There are so many things, ribosomes, lysosomes, etc. Right? So eblak ki hoy cellot ami discuss korim. As of now, what is protoplasm? Protoplasm is a colorless liquid, or we can say the entire contents inside the cell is called as protoplasm. Entire contents boli kwa loge loge we have to consider the membrane also. So protoplasm consists of the membrane, the nucleus and all the organelles that are present inside the cell. So we are clear about cell membrane, we are clear about nucleus, we are clear about cell organelles. We have a term called as cytoplasm. Protoplasm ki hoy we understood. Cytoplasm ki bostu etia. What is cytoplasm? Normally, ami jetia in general we talk about something, the cell eta cellor bhitor ki ase boli khudi kolle, we can either say cytoplasm or we can say protoplasm. Basically, normally students bilake ki koy je protoplasm ase, right? But we have a word called as cytoplasm also. So we need to know the difference between protoplasm and cytoplasm. Cytoplasm ki bostu? Protoplasm to ami buzi palo. Cytoplasm is also the fluid, right, present inside the cell that consists of the living parts, but living parts except the nucleus. Or in other words, what you can say, nucleus or bahirot jimanpur liquid thake tak ami ki boli kom cytoplasm. Basic difference ki protoplasm boli kwa loge loge tat tumar liquid tiu thakibo, nucleus thakibo, cell organelles thakibo, cell membrane khonu tate include hoi thakibo. Kintu cytoplasm ki hoy nucleus or bahirot means what? The nucleus is not included or it is not a part of cytoplasm, right? Another point is cell membrane is not a part. So confused hoisa niki? Protoplasm aru cytoplasm or duita difference buzi paisa nai? Sabole gole what is the similarity? The similarity is both of them are liquid or both of them are fluidic in nature, right? Both of them are colorless, right? Kot thake cellor bhitorot thake ekhini hol similarities. Eta cellor bhitorot boli kwa loge loge jedi ami cell membrane kon consider kori pelai gute khini contents or kotha kau tetia tak ami ki boli kom protoplasm boli kom. Jedi ami cell membrane kon consider nokoru, excluding or we just remove the cell membrane, we remove the nucleus, tetia hole hei content tuk ami ki boli kom cytoplasm. Did you understand? Kiba doubts ase niki khudha? Yeah, obviously cell organelle is included hobo, khali nucleus khon aru cell membrane khon include no hobo. Is it understood now? Yeah, colorless. Etu colorless, hetu colorless. Aru yate swa cytoplasm aru protoplasm no ebilak ekhon ami cell buli eta chapter ase tomar kor most probably chapter number 4 ne 5 no 5 ne 6 kiba ta ase cell as unit of life buli chapter ase tat ami ekdom pura bhalke clear korim ঠিক আছে ডায়াগ্রাম দি প্লাই কোনটো পার্ট সাইটোপ্লাজম এটা সেলক প্রোটোপ্লাজম আছে বুলি কেতিয়া কম সাইটোপ্লাজম আছে বুলি কেতিয়া কম এজ অফ নাও বেসিক থিং আমি কি বুজিলো all the contents removing or excluding the cell membrane and the nucleus is called as cytoplasm and all the contents together with the cell membrane and the nucleus is called as protoplasm. Is the point understood now? Understood no? Okay. Next, protoplasm ami ki koisu that it is the basic unit or it is the living content of a cell. Protoplasm or logot there is a line that goes, there was a scientist called as Huxley. What he said, protoplasm is the physical basis of life. Yate question from entrance point of view ebar eta question korise the protoplasm of physical basis of life buli kune koisile, so you need to remember the name of the scientist. Is the point understood? Okay, so details about all this in the chapter cell. So we were talking about living and non-living. There are certain things that are same between them and there are certain things that are different. So difference obviously basic. Now we will be discussing about the characteristics of living. Characteristics of living. So what are the specific characteristics of a living organism or a living object, a living cell? There are so many characters will come with definite shape and size. We have cellular organization, growth and development, reproduction, metabolism, consciousness, homeostasis, healing and repairing, Next we have excretion, adaptation, evolution and death. So if you are talking about the characteristics of living, these are some of the characteristics of living: definite shape and size, cellular organism, growth and development. So almost 11-12 characters jun bilak niki specific characters of living buli ami generally gom pao. Yeah, excretion, homeostasis, right? Homeostasis ami porhim pisot details of, as of now to maintain a balance is called as homeostasis. What we understand, so amar, for example, if you talk about higher organisms, especially if you are talking about mammals, or precisely we are talking about human beings, right? Human beings are amar ki hoy, we are subjected to গৰম দিনত থাকো, ঠাণ্ডা দিনতো থাকো, এনেকুৱাটো নহয় যে গৰম দিন হল কাৰণে আমাৰ টেম্পাৰেচাৰটো হাই হৈ যাব, ঠাণ্ডা দিন হল কাৰণে আমাৰ টেম্পাৰেচাৰটো লো হৈ যাব, তেনেকুৱাটো নহয়, হয় নেকি? In any condition, what we do, we maintain a balance, right? So this maintaining of a balance is called as homeostasis. Certain organisms june niki environment or logot change nohoy. Is the point understood? Yeah, warm blooded, right? তাতো কিছুমান exceptions আছে, we'll be discussing later. একদম basic কথাটো হল জুনে balance maintain কৰে তাক আমি কি বুলি কওঁ, homeostatic organisms. Is the point understood? Okay. Okay, welcome. So healing and repairing, extrusion, adaptation, imanbur characters of living thake, right? Kintu out of all these characteristics, NCERT bookot ki dia ase je gutei bila characteristics ami details ot poribo na lage. NCERT okol 5ta characteristics of living that has been given, and you are supposed to read only 5 of them out of all these, right? So precisely gutei gita characteristic or uporte okoman discussion ami korim, kintu besi মানে full discussion ami 5 points on. So NCERT bookot ki dia ase characteristics of living ot dia ase growth, reproduction, metabolism, cellular organization, আৰু দিয়া আছে consciousness. Right? So characteristics of living according to the NCERT book, these 5 has been discussed, and so we need to talk about these 5. Our maximum questions has been asked from these 5 points itself. Together with that, yate aru eta point janibo laibo je yate aru kiba ta bostu ase. We have a term called as defining characters aru not defining characters of living. Moi prothomate likhi lo growth aru reproduction not defining characters of living বুলি কৈছে আৰু বাকি তিনটাক defining characters of living বুলি কৈছে. Now what is the difference? Defining or not defining আমি কি বুজি পাও? যিকোনো এটা বস্তুত যদি exceptions আছে তাক আমি কি বুলি কও? Not defining. যদি কোনো exceptions নাই তেতিয়াহলে আমি তাক কি বুলি কও? Defining. The first point that you need to remember is when we are talking about characteristics of living organisms are supposed to show all these 5 different types of characteristics, right? Yatke basic dekhai kintu NCERT bookot 5ta ase, so we know that characteristics of living kimanta 5ta. Out of that, they have also used 2 words. One is not defining character and the other is defining. Questions ahe, is growth a defining character of living? Then not defining character of living. Cellular organization, consciousness, anything. Kuntu defining, kuntu not defining. It is defining or non-defining or difference ki, jedi exceptions ase, tak ami not defining kom, jedi kunu exceptions nai, tak ami ki buli kom? Defining বুলি কম. We will be studying why growth and reproduction is not considered as a defining character. Jetia eta bostu, etia for example, ami koisu metabolism is a defining character of living, but consciousness is a defining character of living. Tar mane, in other words, what we can say, jikuno bostu etai jedi metabolism dekhai, tak ami living বুলি কব পাৰো. Jikuno bostu etar jedi consciousness ase, tak ami living বুলি কব পাৰো. Jedi tenekwa dhoroner statement is something that we can use, tetiahale ami tak ki buli kau defining. Kintu since both of them are not defining buli koise no, ami etu kobo noaru jihetu growth hoise he living hobo. Are you understanding the difference? Eta organism ba eta bostu growth hoise does not qualify that object to be living. Eta bostu reproduce korise ba eta bostu reproduce kora nai, that does not mean he is non-living. Are you understanding? Kintu jedi metabolism kore, he has to be living. Jedi cellular organization ase, tetiale he has to be living. Or jedi consciousness ase, obviously he has to be living. Karon non-living or metabolism, cellular organization, consciousness ekebare nathake. Now you might be asking me a question, ma'am, egita to nathake thik ase buji paisu, kintu reproduction to nathake, non-living bostu reproduce kore jano. Right? So reproduction is something that is seen only in case of living, but in spite of that, it is not considered as a defining character. It is put under not defining. What is the reason behind that? Ami jeta reproduction point to le jam, we'll be talking about that. As of now, up till here, is it clear? Right? Okay, defining kun gita, not defining kun gita. Now we'll go to the first one, that is growth. So etialage ami ki porilu, we have talked about a word called as life. Life or logot associated living, study of living ki asile biology. Term to kune disile Yeah, aru tar pisot father of biology kun asile, father of zoology, father of botany, Aristotle. Yeah, Aristotle, Theophrastus. We have talked about some of the extra points about them, like the book he has written, etc., etc. Right? Characteristics or similarities between living, non-living, we studied. Specific characteristics of living, we have, at least we have written it down, right? Etia ami ahim according to the NCERT book, juntu niki first character of living ase, that is growth. Okay, before going to growth, one point I forgot to say is that NCERT book, I think everyone has said about it, right? NCERT book is something that you have to follow, right? So protect the word, protect the line, even each and every diagram that is given. It might be the diagram of a scientist, it might be a diagram of any organism, anything that is given in the book, you have to be precisely studying about that. Karon, board's point of view of question nahibo pare, kintu entrance point of view pra, tumar protective diagram or question ahar eta chance thake. For example, sabason NCERT book kon just meli saba, tumar ka Ernest Mayr picture kon dia ase. Right? I don't know whether you have opened it or not, right? Ernest Mayr picture dia ase. Hey, Ernest Mayr information jutaman ase. Ami porim pisot details. Hey, Ernest Mayr informations kitao kintu amak lagibo. So what in short, what I want to say is, eku diagram, diagram ba eku information juntu niki notot dia thake, hebilak bostu eri nidiba. It might sound like, hey, ekonto photo hoy nasaleo hobo sake. Are you understanding? Okay. Coming back to the first one, that is growth. What is growth? Permanent, right? Irreversible change, right? Ekdom short or likhisu, details or nilikhu karon notes or already dia ase, there is no point of writing it down again. So growth boli kole, it is something that is permanent. It is a irreversible change in the size of a cell, a organ, an organism, etc. Right? Permanent is something that we understand. Irreversible mane ki? What is irreversible? That cannot, yeah, no, that cannot come back to its original form. Very simple meaning, right? Irreversible and reversible reactions is something that you have studied in chemistry, right? So reversible mane eta form or antu form le change kori jabo pare. Irreversible jedi ebar kiba eta hoi gol he bostu tu tumi change koribo nwara. In other words, jedi ebar growth hoi gose, you cannot come back to the original place. For example, baby to adult, say adult cannot become a baby again, right? So we are using two words, that is permanent and irreversible. Next, it is accompanied by growth is accompanied by what? Increase in dry weight, right? Increase in mass, increase in number, etc. Tamane eta organism or growth hoise boli kole, maybe these are the factors on the basis of which we can say that the growth is taking place. Increase in dry weight, increase in mass, increase in number. Increase in mass, we have an idea, maybe we are talking about the weight of the organism, no? Horote akuman kom weight asile, dangor hote weight to besi hoi gol, so maybe that's increase in mass. Increase in number, aji eta asile kali sarita hoi gol, that is also a form of growth. Especially we are using this in case of the number of cells that gets increased as we grow, right? Next is we have a word called as dry weight. Dry weight or fresh weight, duta word ase. What we understand by dry weight, what we understand by fresh weight. Dry weight, ekdom simple, eko iman basis bhabibo laga bostu nai. Jikunu eta, we are talking it from the plant point of view, thik ase? Jikunu edal plantor, jedi tumi suppose tar part bilak or weight lobo bisarisa, no? What you can do, either you can pluck the leaves and take the weight at that go, or what you can do is you can dry up the leaves, you can remove the water and then you take the weight. That is what is called as dry weight. Gosdal ba herb to ba shrub to uthai pelai jeti weight kora loge loge tak ami ki boli kom fresh weight. Fresh weight ot ki thake, water content to thake. Dry weight ot ki kore je ami water content to gusai di pelai actual he cells ba number of cells or weight to kiman tak ami ki boli kom dry weight. So growth hame generally increase jeti dry weight to increase hoise, jeti mass to increase hoise ba jeti number of cells increase hoise, ami generally ki koi thoi diu that growth has taken place, right? Next, we have something called as twin characters of growth. Now this point is very important. It is question I have. What are the twin characters of growth? Twin money almost have the same meaning, right? Twin characters of growth: increase in number and increase in mass are called as the twin characters of growth. Etu bostu monot rakhibo lagibo. Duta point jaktiki ami ki koisu, both of them have the same meaning. Jedi number increase kore tetiao ami growth hua boli koisu, jedi mass increase kore tetiao ami ki boli koisu, growth hua boli koisu. Next point about growth is, it is the result of, growth is the result of ki, it is the result of duta term, anabolism and catabolism. Hunisa no ekita word? Anabolic reaction, catabolic reaction, right? So growth is a result of some reactions, or it is the result of metabolism. Or metabolism boli kole tar logot duta associated word, eta hol anabolism, eta hol catabolism. Now what is anabolism and what is catabolism? Ekdom simple language et ami ki buzo. যিকোনো এটা ৰিয়াকশনত যদি কিবা এটা বস্তু ফৰ্ম কৰিছে তাক আমি কি বুলি কওঁ, এনাবলিক ৰিয়াকশন বুলি কওঁ। আৰু যিকোনো এটা বস্তু যদি ব্ৰেক ডাউন কৰিছে তাক আমি কি বুলি কওঁ, কেটাবলিক ৰিয়াকশন বুলি কওঁ। ফৰ এক্সাম্পল, if you are taking about two terms, photosynthesis and respiration, right? In case of photosynthesis, we know the plants prepare food, বা সেলটোৰ বা প্লান্টৰ ভিতৰত কি হয়, ফুড প্ৰিপেয়াৰ হয় ন, in the form of কি, starch, glucose, right? So jihetu kiba eta bostu form korise tak ami ki boli kওঁ, anabolic reaction, and this is what is called as anabolism. Catabolism ba catabolic reaction or eta example hol the process of respiration. Respiration ot okon basic idea I think we have. Respiration ot ki hoy, juntu food amar cellor bhitor thake, that thing gets broken down to release energy, right? So that breaking down of a product is called as a catabolic reaction, and this is what is called as catabolism. So cell etar bhitorot ki hoi thake, anabolism hoi thake, catabolism hoi thake. So growth is a result of both the products. Growth or logot ako two types of growth could be seen. Eta hol positive growth ba growth jikwa, we can use only the word growth, or eta hol negative growth, or we can use degrowth, right? Either the cell undergoes or is showing growth, or the cell is showing degrowth. Eta kotha to hol growth ketia hobo, degrowth ketia hobo. Jetia anabolism besi hobo tetia hole cell tut ki hobo, growth hobo. Jedi catabolism besi hobo as compared to anabolism tetia hole he cell tut ki hobo tumar, degrowth hobo. So these are the terms that you need to remember. What is degrowth and what is the result of degrowth of a cell? When catabolic reaction is more as compared to anabolic reaction inside a cell, it leads to a growth that is called as negative growth, or it is also called as degrowth. Clear? Next, growth hot aru eta point ki janibo lagibo je in case of we know unicellular organisms have multicellular organisms have, both the organisms show growth, right? But the meaning of growth in unicellular and the meaning of growth in multicellular duita beleg beleg. In case of unicellular organisms, growth and reproduction are inclusive events. Pay interest to the word called as inclusive. In case of multicellular organisms, growth and reproduction are exclusive events. যেহেতু আমি গ্ৰোথ পঢ়ি আছো ন গ্ৰোথ ৰিলেটেড এখিনি পইণ্টছ আমি পঢ়িব লাগিব যিমানখিনি লিখিলো আৰু বাকি ডিটেইলছ তোমালোকৰ নোটছত আছে সো উই কাম টু দিস পইণ্ট ইনক্লুসিভ আৰু এক্সক্লুসিভ So we know growth occurs both in unicellular as well as in multicellular. Unicellular organisms or case of growth or reproduction has the same meaning. But in case of multicellular organisms, growth is different or reproduction is different, right? So unicellular organism or jikunu eta jodi example no, the best example that comes to our mind is obviously bacteria, no? So bacteria is an example of unicellular, amoeba is an example of unicellular. So eta bacteria grow korise, mane what you understand? Are we referring to something that the size of the bacteria is growing? Are you understanding the question? Exactly. So growth kar hoy, unicellular hoy, multicellular organisms are growth hoy. Right? But unicellular organisms or growth too is equal to reproduction. Karon eta bacteria jodi grow korise means what? Je eta asile it has multiplied, cell division hoise, hoi pelai duta hol, dutar pra 4ta hol, 4tar pra 8ta hol. Ei je increase in number to hoy ase tak ami growth buliu kobo paru aru reproduction buliu kobo paru. So we are using the word inclusive. Is the point understood? Right? But in case of multicellular organisms ki hoy growth to totally beleg, reproduction to totally beleg. Reproduction generally in case of higher organisms ami ki dekha pao the specific reproductive ba specific changes occurs in the body, right? But specific reproductive organs bilak develop kore aru hetu growth nohoy kintu growth eta beleg, reproduction eta beleg. So yar pra question ki ahe growth aru reproductive inclusive events kar karone aru exclusive events kar karone? Multicellular karne exclusive aru unicellular karne inclusive. Understood? Okay. Next is growth or logot ako duta word associated hoi ase. Eta hol intrinsic growth aru eta hol extrinsic growth. Intrinsic growth aru eta hol extrinsic growth, right? What is intrinsic growth? Internal growth is called as intrinsic growth aru external growth is called as extrinsic growth. Jedi eta organism bhitoror pura grow ba cell to bhitoror pura grow kori kori ahi ase tak ami ki boli kom internal growth or that is what is called as intrinsic. Aru jeti eta bostu grow korise kintu growth to kor pura hoise on the surface hoise ba accumulation or karne hoise tak ami ki boli kom external growth ba extrinsic growth. Intrinsic growth kune dekhai living beings bilake intrinsic growth dekhay aru extrinsic growth kune dekhay non livings bilake extrinsic. External growth ami ki koiso maybe by accumulation, right? Now the question that comes from this part is ba generally amar eta question murot ahe je growth boli kole obviously it is a characteristic of living kintu non living objects bilakor growth hoy ne nohoy? Do non-living things grow? Have you heard about a mountain growing? Right? So mountain obviously to living no hoy, no non-living hoy. So mountain to grow kore. Right? Another thing is ami ki koiso je extrinsic growth keneke hobo pare accumulation ba accumulate kori ba surface ot aji iman khini ase kali iman khini accumulate hol, that increase could also be said to be as growth. For example, if you are talking about a sand dune mane ki balir dome eta no, so balir dome eta horuke balir dome eta ase as time passes by maybe with the help of dust or with the help of wind tat ki hoy bali accumulate hoy hoy goi ase. So aji jodi dune tor size horu asile kali sand dune tor size tumar dangoru hoi jabo pare. So that is also called as growth, right? Kintu hetu growth ki hoise je accumulation or karne hoise. Jedi accumulation or karne hoy aru growth to tumar bahirot hoy, that is what is called as extrinsic, and this type of a growth is a characteristic of ki non living. But jedi growth to bhitorot hoy cell or bhitorot ba body bhitorot hoise tak ami ki boli ko intrinsic, and that is what is called as or that is a characteristic of living. So what we can conclude is growth is something that is seen in both living and non-living, and so it is not considered to be a defining character of living. আমি অলপ আগতে কৈছো ন, out of the 5 characters তাৰ ভিতৰত দুটা character not defining আৰু তিনটা character defining, right? তাৰ মানে আমি ক'ব নোৱাৰো যে যিকোনো এটা বস্তুৰ যদি গ্ৰোথ হৈছে হি লিভিংই হ'ব। মাউণ্টেইন এটাও গ্ৰো কৰিছে কিন্তু মাউণ্টেইনটো লিভিং নহয়। Is the point clear? Na kiba confusion hoise? Is it going very complicated or something like that? Degrowth examples wa disease hoy ar plant or kiman bor disease hobo pore, maybe stunted growth, maybe we have a term called as chlorosis jot niki chlorophyll content to komi gol, ultimately it will lead to the degrowth of the plant, right? So kiba নহয় ডিগ্ৰোথ হলে ইৰিভাৰ্সিবল কিয় নহয়? এটা এডাল গছৰ যদি তুমি এক্সাম্পল লোৱা ফৰ এক্সাম্পল, ৰাইট, তাৰ কি হৈছে মেবি সাম সৰ্ট অফ আ ডিজিজ অৰ মেবি সাম সৰ্ট অফ ইনফেকশনস কিবা এটা হৈছে, তাৰ কাৰণে কি হৈছে গ্ৰোথটো কমি গৈছে। দ্যাট ডাজ নট মিন দ্যাট দ্য প্লান্ট উইল বিকাম আ সিডলিং अगेन। গ্ৰোথটো কমি গৈছে কিন্তু সিডলিং ষ্টেজ হলে যাবগৈ নেকি? বুজি পাইছানে? right? So jedi growth to komi goise tamane we are talking about degrowth. Degrowth kihor karone hoise due to various factors degrowth hobo pare. In case of human beings nutrition might be one major factor that tumi bhalke nutrients lua na he karone tomar growth to jiman hobo leke tatke kom hoise. If you are going to continue in that mane same মানে amount of nutrition that you are taking, ultimately degrowth hoi pelai ki hobo, you will be approaching death most মানে জিমান সময়ত মানে এটা টাইম ফ্রেম থাকে আমাৰ লাইফ স্প্যান থাকে তাতকে সোনকালে আমি উইল বি এপ্ৰোচিং সেনেসেন্স অর উইল বি এপ্ৰোচিং ডেথ। কিন্তু দ্যাট ডাজ নট মিন যে ডিগ্ৰোথ হোৱাৰ লগে লগে উইল গো অর উইল কনভার্ট আওরসেলফ টু আ চাইল্ড অর আ বেবি, সেই কাৰণে কেতিয়াও হেতু হ'ব নোৱাৰে। গ্ৰোথ যেতিয়া হৈছে গোটেই লাইফ স্প্যানৰ যিকিটা স্টেজেস সেই স্টেজেস গিটা হ'বই লাগিব। ক্লিয়াৰ? Okay, so we'll come back to this. Eta question tour, etu question or answer to buzi pala nai je growth to defining character of living boli kiyo nokoi, right? Why is it not considered as a defining character? Because non-living objects also show growth. Is the point clear? Right? Hey karone because of this it is a not defining character. So question I had growth defining and not defining, it is a not defining character, right? Etia yate aru eta bostu ase swa so question to ahise growth defining ne not defining characters of living. Aru eta question ahise intrinsic growth defining ne not defining characteristic of living. Just listen to the question properly. Duta question ahise. Question to whole growth defining character ne not defining character of living. We know it is not a defining character of living. The question has been asked, the second one is about intrinsic growth. Growth or kotha kudha nai kintu intrinsic growth or kotha khudise. It is obviously a defining character. Karon intrinsic growth is something that is seen only in case of living. He karone jeta question to diye bhalke poriba. Ami throughout pori jam growth ki hoy not defining not defining not defining. Kintu question to ki aise growth aha nai kintu question aise intrinsic growth or. Is the point understood? Right? So intrinsic growth is obviously a defining character of living. Aru duta type of growth. We have determinate growth and indeterminate growth. What is determinate growth? Limited growth is called as determinate. Unlimited growth is called as indeterminate. Now give me an example of an organism showing limited growth and an organism showing unlimited growth. Kisuman organisms limited growth mute ho gol হেল্ল' শুনিছা আহিছে ওকে চোৱা গ্ৰোথৰ লগত মই কি কৈছোঁ যে গ্ৰোথৰ লগত কিছুমান গ্ৰোথ আমি কিছুমান অৰ্গেনিজমছৰ লিমিটেড গ্ৰোথ থাকে আৰু কিছুমান অৰ্গেনিজমছে নন লিমিটেড বা আনলিমিটেড গ্ৰোথ দেখায় কোনটো অৰ্গেনিজমে লিমিটেড গ্ৰোথ দেখায় আৰু কোনটো অৰ্গেনিজমে আনলিমিটেড গ্ৰোথ দেখায় এক্সাম্পল কোৱা Okay, that is one answer because unicellular organisms bilakok ami generally we just put into a caption it never dies type no hetu no hoy but we can consider that also the answer I am looking for is between plants and animals or jintu growth hoy he growth to ami ki growth buli ko it is obviously a limited growth our plants or jintu growth hoy tak ami ki buli ko limited growth in case of ki animals no karon we know animals bilak ki hoy at a particular time loke he grow kore tar pisot ar grow no kore kintu in case of plants they will keep on growing up till the time they live and that is what is called as unlimited is the point understood shuna paisa okay now talking about plants bilake unlimited growth show kore mane which part of the plant are you talking about but what we understand one is correct the other is wrong so plants bilake ki dekhay unlimited growth no unlimited growth dekhay mane they will keep on growing till they die now the question is which part of the plant keeps on growing till they die it is only the apex the roots right so depending on which parts of the plant you are talking about no plant or kuntu part plants bilake normally ki growth dekhay unlimited by indeterminate growth lekhay kintu plant part to jodi specifically mention kori die tete hale amar beleg eta term choose hobo for example plant parts or jodi root apex aru shoot or kotha ko tete hale tahate ki dekhabo unlimited hoy tahate grow kori goe thakibo kintu if you are talking about parts like flowers fruits leaves এইবিলাকে কি দেখাব গ্ৰোথ ডিটারমিনেন্ট কিহৰ কাৰণে এটা এক্সাম্পল ধৰাচোন ভাবা এডাল ম্যাঙ্গো ট্রি ঠিক আছে হে ম্যাঙ্গো ট্রি ডালত ম্যাঙ্গো এটা লাগিছে তাৰ যিমান সময় পাৰ হৈ যায় ম্যাঙ্গোটো কি ডাঙৰ হৈ গৈ থাকিব নেকি ৰাইট সিমিলাৰলি হা আই এম সৰি আকৌ কোৱাচোন yeah they will be formed but I am talking about that shape or I am talking about that size of that mango eta gosor jedi mango tur size to eta specific hoy that does not mean that every year or if you buy some with the help of certain types of chemicals or hormones tumi jedi he fruit to tree dalote logai thoi dia ene normally ki hobo lage treat fruit to whole once it gets ripened it will fall off right but with the help of chemicals maybe you are doing something artificial and you have kept that fruit for 2 years chemically ba artificially ami koribo paru to no khori jate nopore ami kiba hormones di dilo does that mean je mango to 2 বছৰ থাকিলে কাৰণে আম to বহুত pumpkinor নিচিনা হৈ যাব hobo niki right okay if you are getting confused with the fruit let's talk about the leaves leaf mango leaf hok ba neem leaf hok ba any type of a leaf eta particular shape ba eta particular size thake na thake aam gos dalor 10 বছৰ হৈছে কাৰণে leaf to বহুত দিঘল হৈ যাব নেকি are you understanding so this is what I want to say about this one in case of flowers also jedi gos dalor age bari goise that does not mean the size of the flower will keep on increasing but jedi gos dalor age bari goise the root apex and the shoot apex will keep on elongating are you understanding the difference okay ha বহুত উখ হৈ যাব নহয় কি হ কাৰণে ন এটা এভাৰেজ হাইটতকে কিয় ডাকৰ নহয় কাৰণ অকল তোমাৰ শুট এপেক্স আৰু ৰুট এপেক্স টু মেৰিস্টেমেটিক সেলস আছে কাৰণে যে গ্ৰো কৰিব হেতু বাৰু গ্ৰো কৰি দিব কিন্তু বাকি ফ্যাক্টৰছৰটো কথা আছে ন তাহাঁতৰ নিউট্ৰিশনৰ কথা আছে তাহাঁতে যোনটো জেগাত গ্ৰো কৰিছে তাত বা তাহাঁতৰ ফুড এভেইলেবিলিটি পাইছে নে নাই ওয়াটাৰ ইনাফ পাইছে নে নাই অক্সিজেন ইনাফ পাইছে নে নাই সো देयर आर अदर লিমিটিং ফ্যাক্টৰছ অলসো right? So প্ৰত্যেকটো phenomenon কি থাকে কিছুমান limitations থাকে. For example, আমি কি কওঁ, let's come away from the topic. আমি জানো যে photosynthesis কি হয় যে কাৰ্বন ডাই অক্সাইড প্লান্টছে লয়, right? So যেতিয়ালৈকে প্লান্টছে কাৰ্বন ডাই অক্সাইড নলয় তেতিয়াহ'লে photosynthesis কি হ'ব? নহ'ব. কিন্তু does that mean কাৰ্বন ডাই অক্সাইড বেছিকে ল'লে বেছিকে photosynthesis হ'ব? বুজি পাইছানে বস্তুটো? What I want to say is, এটা বস্তু চলি থাকিব ঠিকে আছে কিন্তু বাকি কিছুমান ফ্যাক্টৰস কি হৈ যায়, লিমিটিং হৈ যায় আৰু সেই কাৰণে যেটো হ'ব লাগিছিল হেতু নহয়। গজি গৈ থাকিব, ডাঙৰ উখ হৈ গৈ থাকিব কিন্তু উখ কিমান হৈছে তুমি সেই বস্তুটো you cannot be keeping on measuring, and if you measure also up till an extent you will see that it is keeping on increasing the height, কিন্তু maybe the rate will decrease. Clear হৈছে? হা, তোমাৰ কোৱেশ্চনটো ক্লিয়াৰ হ'লে নাই যোনে মোক সুধিছিলে যে এভাৰেজ হাইট কিয় হৈ থাকে, ৰাইট? ক্লিয়াৰ হৈছে? প্ৰত্যেকটো অৰ্গানিজমৰ এটা এভাৰেজ লাইফ স্পেন, এটা এভাৰেজ হাইট তেনেকুৱা থাকে। এটা মেন বুলি বা হিউমেন বিংছ বুলি ক'লে আমিতো জিৰাফৰ নিচিনা হাইট এটা কনচিডাৰ নকৰোঁ। মেংগো ট্ৰী এডাল বুলি কোৱাৰ লগে লগে আমি ইউক্লিপটাছৰ হাইটটো কনচিডাৰ নকৰোঁ, কৰোঁ জানো? চ' প্ৰত্যেকটো অৰ্গানিজমৰ এটা স্পেচিফিক এটা টাইম থাকে বা এটা তোমাৰ লিমিটেশন থাকে ন, সেই লিমিটেশনৰ বা সেই ৰেঞ্জৰ মতে তাহাতে ডাঙৰ বা সৰু হ'ব। ইজ ইট ক্লিয়াৰ? হা, কোৱা। হা, পাৰ্মানেণ্ট টিস্যুজ হৈ যায় কিন্তু আকৌতো মেৰিস্টেমেটিক টিস্যুজ ফৰ্ম কৰিয়ে থাকে, ৰাইট? আমি পিছলে পঢ়িম তাতে কি হয় জানা, সেলছবিলাকৰ দুটা টাইপ অফ গ্ৰোথ থাকে, এটা হ'ল জিঅ'মেট্ৰিক গ্ৰোথ আৰু এটা হ'ল এৰিথমেটিক গ্ৰোথ। আমি সেইবিলাক পঢ়িম, চব ডিটেইলছ দিয়া আছে, তোমালোকৰ এটা চেপ্টাৰ আছে প্লেণ্ট গ্ৰোথ এণ্ড ডেভেলপমেণ্ট বুলি, ঠিক আছে? তাত আমি গম পাম যে কেনেকৈ তোমাৰ এটা চেলে সদায় ডিভাইডে কৰি থাকে আৰু এটা চেল ডিভিজন ষ্টপ কৰি দিয়ে, ঠিক আছে? এতিয়া আমি বেছি ডিটেইলছত নাযাওঁ কিন্তু জাষ্ট কি জানিবা যে মেৰিস্টেমেটিক সেলছবিলাক পাৰ্মানেণ্ট হৈ থাকে কিন্তু নতুন নতুন মেৰিস্টেমেটিক সেলছ ফৰ্ম কৰিও থাকে। বুজি পাইছা? তাৰমানে এটা সেল আছে, সাপোজ উই আৰ টকিং এবাউট আ মেৰিস্টেমেটিক সেল, সেই মেৰিস্টেমেটিক সেলটো ডিভাইড কৰি কি ফৰ্ম কৰিব? দুটা সেল ফৰ্ম কৰিব, ৰাইট? সেই দুটা সেলে ডিভাইড কৰিব আকৌ দুটা দুটা ফৰ্ম কৰিব। বুজি পাইছানে নাই? ফৰ এক্সাম্পল উই আৰ টকিং এবাউট আ মেৰিস্টেমেটিক সেল, সাপোজ হা, এই মেৰিস্টেমেটিক সেল নৰ্মেল ডিভিজন কৰি পেলাই দুটা ফৰ্ম কৰিলে, এই দুটাই আকৌ দুটা ফৰ্ম কৰিলে, এইটোৱে আকৌ দুটা ফৰ্ম কৰিলে। গ্ৰোথ এনেকুৱাও হ'ব পাৰে বা কেতিয়াবা কেনেকুৱা হয় যে এইটো এটা মেৰিস্টেমেটিক সেল, সি কি কৰিলে দুটা ফৰ্ম কৰিলে, এইটোৱে আকৌ ফাৰ্ডাৰ ডিভাইড কৰিলে, এইটো কিন্তু পাৰ্মানেণ্ট হৈ গ'ল। বুজি পাইছানে বস্তুটো? right? So গোটেইকেইটা মেৰিস্টেমেটিক সেলছ পাৰ্মানেণ্ট হৈ যাব নট নেসেসাৰি। কোনটো গ্ৰোথ হৈছে সেইটো আমি চাব লাগিব। এটাক আমি এৰিথমেটিক গ্ৰোথ কৈছোঁ, এটোক আমি জিঅ'মেট্ৰিক গ্ৰোথ কৈছোঁ আৰু এনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ কণ্ডিশ্যনক আমি এৰিথমেটিক গ্ৰোথ কৈছোঁ। এতিয়া ইমান বেছি কনফিউজ নহ'বা, আমি পিছত ডিটেইলছত কৰি দিম বস্তুটো। বস্তুটো এনে ক্লিয়াৰ হৈছে নাই? উইল কাম বেক টু দিছ। ডিটাৰমিনেণ্ট গ্ৰোথ বা লিমিটেড গ্ৰোথ একদম সিম্পল ল্যাঙ্গুৱেজত কোনে দেখায়? এনিমেলছে। আৰু ইনডিটাৰমিনেণ্ট বা আনলিমিটেড গ্ৰোথ কোনে দেখায়? প্ল্যান্টছে। কিন্তু প্ল্যান্টছৰ পাৰ্টবিলাক লৈ লৈ তাহাঁতৰ বেলেগ বেলেগ গ্ৰোথ। যদি আমি ৰুট আৰু শ্বুটৰ কথা কৈছোঁ তাহাঁতে কি দেখাব? আনলিমিটেড দেখাব। কিন্তু যদি আমি ফ্লাৱাৰ, ফ্ৰুটছ, লিভছ এটচেট্ৰা তাহাঁতৰ কথা কৈছোঁ তাহাঁতে কি দেখাব? লিমিটেড গ্ৰোথ দেখাব। এইখিনিলৈকে বুজি পালোঁ নে নাই? Yeah, any questions from your part? Is the class getting very Anabolism or catabolism. So, scientific definition or na jao ha, bujua point or moi kom. Jikunu eta reaction or karone, jedi kiba eta bostu form hoise. Is certain, if certain things get synthesized because of a certain reaction, that is what is called as anabolism. If certain things break down because of a reaction, that is called as catabolism. Moi example ki disilu photosynthesis or respiration. Photosynthesis is a process jot niki food prepare hoy, cell tur bhitorot food form hoy, tak ami ki kom? Anabolic reaction. ৰেসপিৰেশ্যনত কি হয় যে সেলটোৰ ভিতৰত যিখিনি ফুড আছিল সেই ফুডখিনি ভাঙি যায় আৰু এনাৰ্জি ওলাই যেহেতু ভাঙি যায় তাক আমি কি বুলি কম কেটাবলিক ৰিঅ্যাকশন বুজি পাইছা ৰাইট Okay. Aru kiba questions? Yeah. Huh. Okay. That also obviously have a limit. Oh, catabolism jodi besi hoy degrowth hobo. Okay. Aru kiba? Anyone? Buji paisa ne class 2? Right? So, okoman jodi problem u paisa, since it's the first class, maybe you might have some doubts or you might not find it so very comfortable. Kintu the point is, whether you understood or not, is it going very fast or is it going very slow? I would just like to hear your comments. Na thike ase? Thike ase? Oh. Okay. I just like to, I love to hear that. Okay. Today, I think we'll wind up the class here. What you do is, jonkini notes paisa no, notes kini moi jikini portion loge porhaiso, just go through. Notes kini poriba, NCERT book or hekini portion loge poriba. Is the point clear? And in the next class, we'll be talking about the next characteristic, that is reproduction. Alright, NK, we'll just continue the class. Okay? So thank you for today. Okay, we'll meet soon again. Bye.